So I'm Judy Wyatt, and I'm from East Central Illinois. In 2011, I was diagnosed with colon cancer, and that was as a result of going in for what was to be a robotic hysterectomy, and they found a baseball-sized tumor that had already perforated the colon. A month later, I'm sitting in his office, mostly recovered, where he's explaining not my options, pretty much, but what we're going to do, and that'll be 6 weeks of radiation and 6 months of chemo. You go home with a pump that continues to pump the chemotherapy into your body, and then you go back 48 hours later and have that taken off, so you're listening to that pump for 48 hours knowing that it's just constantly putting more and more poison into your body. And yeah, it was a bad experience. The first one in 2011, I lost 40 pounds and was nauseous most of that time, and oddly enough, it was my vet that told me sugar feeds cancer, not my oncologist. I enjoy telling that. I had no idea. So, God love my vet. He didn't really want to tell me exactly what to do. He pointed me in the direction of a couple of different books I might want to read. Well, one of them was the one that Bill Henderson wrote and Dr. Garcia, of course, co-authored. And I read that, and much to my... it kind of came back and got me because I didn't do everything the book said. I kind of picked and chose and did different things. When I had to deal with this again was in April of last year. We found out that I had a knot of scar tissue in the abdominal scar where they had done the surgeries, and some cancer cells had attached to that scar tissue. And each time that I would meet with the surgeon or the oncologist, their first sentence was, "Okay, are you all right?" And I had told them from the beginning, chemo's not an option this time. But by then I had already spoken with Utopia and realized that really was the place for me. And I proceeded with Utopia, and it was the best choice. No regrets. I'm here now for maintenance. I spent 10 weeks... Sorry, I'm bouncing around. I spent 10 weeks in July, August, and September of 19 to do my initial visit. And I will say Doc was right on the money when he did the phone consult with me. He said, "I think we can take care of this in 8 to 10 weeks," and it was 10. And yeah, did I want to give up my life, and did I want to make some changes and do all of those things for 10 weeks? No. It would have been a lot easier to stay home. But did I want chemotherapy put in my veins again when I now know that it fails 97% of the time? So the decision was made. My family was in support of me, saying, "Yes, do what you want. We don't want to see you go through chemo again. That's not a good option. And it doesn't work." I mean, we found out twice it didn't work. So came down here, did 10 weeks. One of the things that Utopia wants you to be a part of, and is insistent you be a part of, is group therapy on Wednesday mornings. And as the new guy, sometimes you feel like you're being targeted to open up. And finally, in the one-on-one with Dan, after a few weeks of that, I'd gone in and decided I was just going to tell him, this isn't working for me. I can't keep doing this. It's not productive. And so I just told him, I can't keep doing what we've been doing for another however many weeks I had at that point. And he said, "Well, what have we been doing?" And I said, everything feels like I have to defend or argue, and I've done that most of my adult life. I'm tired of it. He looked at me very simply and said, "Then stop." And that was truly my aha moment. That was my turning point. That was when I realized, of course I had to digest that for a little bit, but it finally began to sink in that he was absolutely right. And once I stopped fighting it, and once I went along with it, and a big part of group 2 is you have to realize you're in a room with strangers, but they're in the same position you are, and you're in a place of healing and positivity. So even if you do have to air some of your dirty laundry, it's all meant for your good, and you just have to get past that. And I was willing to take that step and say, okay, I'm going to put myself out here, and there's no judgment. There's no judgment by staff. There's no judgment by other campers, because you don't know what's happened with them. You may think your story's horrible, but theirs may be worse. And, it just, yeah, the IVs, as other people have said, all the IVs in the world, no matter what's going through them, may not do you any good if you don't make the whole person change. And that's what I liked about Utopia, is they're healing the whole body. It is truly mind, body, spirit, and that is what I needed so badly, and I didn't even realize it. So I'm here now on maintenance, and my blood work has all come back absolutely perfect. This is 4 months after I left now, and all of my blood tests are absolutely on the mark. I don't know that we can use the C word and say I'm cured yet, but I'm certainly clear right now, and I don't have to come back for 6 months. So this is what we wanted, and it worked, and I would just invite you to give it a try. I mean, you have absolutely nothing to lose, and you have your health and your life to gain. There again, once you open yourself up to what just happened, and yeah, that was him, and that sort of thing, people would say things, and the way they would sometimes react to me when I would talk about what a wonderful place I had just come from. And it wasn't the negative. It wasn't the, oh, Judy doesn't know what she's doing. They were open. And what I'm finding is, I think the tide is beginning to turn, and people are beginning to realize the conventional way of medicine treating cancer is not the way to go. They're more open to it, and they were sincerely interested in what I had to say. And for me, it wasn't that hard to stay on track. Again, some of the things I had already adopted before I got here. But I did learn a lot more about diet and nutrition. I realized that, some of the things maybe I thought were okay weren't, but at the same time, some of the things I was depriving myself of, I realized were okay. So it's all an adjustment, and you just have to, the main thing is you stay on track. And I guess with me coming back now 4 months after the initial treatment and getting the all clear sign, tells me that's what worked. And in my mind, I'm thinking, why would anybody go back to the old way? But it would be easy to go back to what you did before, but you can't. I learned that you can put yourself first without being a narcissist about it. I always just thought people that put themselves first, well, they just think the world revolves around them, and that's not true. You can put yourself first and still be a very caring, loving individual. And yes, I did, through journaling as much as anything, I learned to love myself. I figured out who Judy was, and yeah, I decided she was worth fighting for, and I wanted to be here for my family. So it was worth it, totally worth it.